Welcome. This is the second episode of the podcast, Create Your Own Adventure. This is a podcast of collectives, entrepreneurs, artists, and creatives where we tap into their vision of where they've come from, where they're going. And I'm delighted to bring on Alessandro as a guest on our show today. Alessandro is super big brain, philosophical genius, really incredible musician, and computer science major, which is strange because he's always skating around with a guitar. Everyone thought he was a music major.
You keep computer.
But anyways, he's past the university life, and just vibing out here in Miami. So
It's great to be on. It's great to be here. I'm excited. It's gonna be great. We have a lot of fun things. Well, I'm sure we're gonna talk about. So I'm a computer science major at university in Miami, but I was always like less of a computer scientist and more of just like a whatever else. There was a great music scene there, and I'm glad I kept playing because like without it I would have been just I don't know what I would have done. So definitely like I had a great time keeping up with Ben playing music, and I heard he's having this podcast. I was like, I can't say no. I guess I'll have to be on it now. So I'm happy to be here and we're gonna answer some questions and talk about some wacky stuff.
Wacky shit. Yeah. Speaking of some wacky shit, can you provide a little background about yourself?
That's the wacky. That's wacky shit. That's a whack shit, actually. God, no. What's some background on me? So yeah. When I was a young boy, my father took me to the city, and I watched Pink Floyd. And he taught me how to play guitar when I was a little kid, and like kind of that was most of where I got my out of all the childhood memories of middle school and shit. Probably just playing music with like little rock ensembles of random people and like just playing with my dad mostly and stuff. So that was a big part. And when I got to high school and they asked Pop the question, they're like, "Hey, what do you want to do the rest of your life?" I don't fucking know, but maybe like something I'm good at. So I was like, I did physics, and then I was considering philosophy and psychology, but like my parents were like, "Nah." And I was like, "Music?" And they're like, "Absolutely not." So they were not about that life. So I mean, I ultimately settled on like, I could just finish this computer science degree, and I'll learn some stuff. Hopefully one day I'll come up with some cool apps and shit, people to use and make everyone happy. But for the time being, all these parts are just a really big part of like who I am and what my life has been. So.
Played it the safe route with the computer science.
I was like, what? Go past the weak resistance here. My physics credits even transferred over. It was long. I took the easiest path. I was like, fastest way out, please.
Fastest way out. Biggest pleasing for your family.
Yeah. Potential for job execution, not starving. Okay, sounds good to me. Sign me up.
All right. So other than computer science, tell me about some more music experiences that you've had.
Musical experiences. You know what they say, kids. Don't do that. No, but musical experiences were mostly like I was saying, like I played a lot of like really great performances, bunches of people, and some of them are still to this day like a big part of my life. Like you meet so many great friends, playing music with people. You you get to get so much better as a musician. It really pushes you to like become better and try to learn more and try to get like, and just in general, like your ear is always improving. Doing anything with anyone and any musical ability, like even if you don't know, if they can teach you something, it's like you're always learning to try and pick up on what music can sound like. So like those are some like musical experiences. Definitely, I would say like almost all the performances I've done. Some in high school, one in middle school with my dad. Dead ass with my dad. He got on stage and it was crazy. But
actually, I want to hear more about that one.
That was a crazy experience. It was just like I wasn't even trying to be cool. I was just like I was trying to fit in general. Middle school was rough, bro. But like, I just wanted to like not.
So your dad just jumps out on the stage.
No.
I'm gonna play with you.
No. That sounds hilarious. I kind of love the way that you imagined it though. No, literally, like I was like, we were just like this talent show, and I was like, oh, bro, I should totally play guitar. And we were playing a lot of like Pink Floyd, like Wish You Were Here, like the classic like. So like we played this song, like the talent show, and he was just like he played this part, and I played the.
Get off the stage.
Oh yeah, that part. It was great, man. Everyone thought I just faked it. It was awesome. They were like, "Your dad's a fucking crazy guitarist," and I'm like, "What?" But I didn't play the lyrics. He's like, "You didn't play show." Okay. But anyway, like, yeah, that was a perfect part. That was fun. I had like, it's always like nerve wracking. It's always so much excitement, but like, it's like excitement, like, oh my god, we just did that. Oh fuck, that was crazy. And it's, you know, so there's some like all these I had like great performances in high school with like a bunch of friends like that I know still hang out with them to this day. Some of them I still don't, but and then in college also great fucking people to hang out with. For example, Ben, amazing at piano. Almost like fucking everyone's amazing at something in fucking school, but like. Amazing at piano and just a creative genius. Man's been gushing with fucking creative ideas constantly.
The amount of times that we've just been chilling at your house and just like jamming and has I can't count the amount of times. But it's and we have this thing where we'll like talk philosophically for like just hours, and then we'll like talk, jam.
Yep.
I still remember that one time where 10 hours went by.
Oh wow.
It was 10 hours of literally talking and playing guitar.
Yep, but what was that?
It was while you were in that last place.
Oh,
the last apartment.
Oh wait. Dang, that was a while ago.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah.
While you were still a student.
Yeah, exactly. While I was still a student, you still had like literally just like nothing to do. Shit. But yeah, no, I mean, good as that's what it's all about. You gotta find people you can just hang out, just you know, play music or do something artistic or have fun, be just creative and just talk about random stuff. I mean, I love talking about big ideas. You love talking about big ideas. It works. I can't deal with small ideas. Losing my fucking mind.
Well, all it really got me into philosophy, and like, yeah, I feel like a lot of the conversations that we have are just not conversations I have with anyone at all, and like, it's so cool to like be a part of it. So
it's fun. I'm really happy you enjoy that as well. It's not all common to everyone, but it's I just love talking about all kinds of crazy stuff, and it's just like, you know, I think a lot of people have something to learn. So like, it's just like we can all just like talking about big ideas and hearing what other people's big ideas are on those big ideas, and you can always learn something. You're like, oh, that's a good point. You know, what's your opinions? A lot of the times, like I'm kind of curious. You know. Yeah.
So what got you into thinking about big ideas?
That's a good question. I probably went through some kind of trauma. It always starts with trauma, let's be honest. But like, yeah, definitely somewhere along the lines trauma. But ultimately, I don't know, you know, like I was just like, this stuff is kind of cool. And it helps you become like better as a person, I think. Like you, like all the time, like and I was like, I don't know, big ideas first came to me when I was like a little kid. Well, not a little kid, but like in high school, I was like, what do I want to do with my life? And I did physics. I was like, oh, I want to be like Stephen Hawking. Like black holes, so cool. You know what I would do as a kid? It was sick. You would just like sit in the tub and like watch like the vortex of the tub. And I would just be like, dude, this looks so cool. Like, look at it. It's like a tornado. Wow, how does that work? And it was like, why does that happen? Right? Why is it always like like so like weird, like I would always be asking these questions or like finding some random like broken piece of like battery like attached with wires to a light and it's like just like garbage. And you're like, can I fix this? Or like, how does this work? Like all the time, that was like where I first fell in love with just asking lots of questions, I think, and just like throwing shit at the wall and trying to see what happens.
Seeing if it sticks.
Yeah, and like see if it sticks. Like if you see if it's true, see if it like makes sense and like you can like follow it. And like at first it was physics, and I fell in love with like psychology and philosophy later because it's like philosophy like really helps you learn how to like think, and then psychology like helps you understand like what you're gonna think about when you don't want to. You know, you like the rest of the stuff.
I think philosophy is like the why, and psychology is more the how.
It's true. I feel like when I was thinking about it, like you can break out like life into a couple ways, right? It's like basically there's stuff that's out of your control. There's like physics kind of like just there, and then there's like psychology is literally like what you're literally going through, and then like philosophy is trying your best to like try and like make logic, like being able to like put building blocks together and like okay, this makes sense out of the whole picture of this stuff.
And a lot about meaning as well, right?
Right, and learning how to adapt, learning how to like okay, deal with the world and like deal with other people, deal with like just all kinds of physical phenomena, like so like definitely just it helps me like become like a kind of a better person. I feel like because you'll just be like more. You get like better common sense, like it's like those are the common sense qualities right there. So it's like those subjects, like ask the big ideas, trying to like ask other people big ideas so you can like communicate, because communication is also really important and stuff. So like I don't know, I love having a conversation about those things, see what people's thoughts are.
Yeah. There's so much small talk, man. There's so much small talk. Like I don't want to like talk about the freaking weather.
I don't want to be in my room. I don't want to go out anymore. It's scary outside. Everyone talking about sports. Nothing against you about sports, but nobody want to talk about like, the random universe philosophy shit anymore.
Alright, so quitting the small talk.
Yes.
What's the meaning of life?
Oh God. 42. The life with meaning.
What is a meaning of life to Alessandro Michele Di Russo?
Oh dear shit. Man, you know what? I try to enjoy. Try to be as happy as you can. I think like for like. In the most healthy way that you can. I mean, try to share with someone else. Like, I don't know. I mean, that's kind of like some of the best parts of life for sure. But I feel like for anyone, it's like a different meaning. Because it really is about like meaning of life might be just like literally like living a life with meaning and like okay, well, what is a life with meaning? And then you ask yourself like what is meaningful to me? And it's like, you kind of have to make it up as you go. Mm-hmm. But some things that I can tell you about living a life without meaning is definitely living someone else's life, or someone else just deciding what life you should have for you,
and like letting that
decide. Yeah, exactly. Become to be who you are. And it's like.
Yeah.
Everyone deserves their own happiness. Everyone's happiness looks different. Everyone should be able to make their own choices with that. Ultimately, like, no one knows what the fuck's going on or how to do it right. It's ultimately like, the way it's up to you how you want to live your life. This is yours. Right. So don't do that. Try to find your own meaning. Probably somewhere in the ballpark of like, what I said earlier, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and I think in a world where like so much of like so many things and expectations are being put on everyone and the youth, and now that's ever growing with technology. I feel like it's more important as ever now to like really maintain that individuality, because it's so easy to get caught in the hordes.
I feel like part of the thing, it's so funny you say individuality. I feel like it's almost like the generification, like, you know, of individuality. It's like everyone's trying so hard to be an individual that they're all like the same. You know what I mean? Like
that's true.
That's why I feel like it's become like
There's
the
a lot of
culture
truth
is
to
like
that.
you got to be so out for yourself, and like you got to be just like you can't take anyone else's advice. You can't think or learn it. It's got to be like, I know what's right. It's either one or the other. It's either you take everyone else's advice, don't think for yourself, or you just like don't take any advice. And those are like the two examples we have. Is like, this is what you should be like. Like, this is not gonna fucking. None of these are healthy. This is both terrible options. But like, I feel like that's what the vast majority, you know, is used to. Like that, it's more familiar to them because I think everyone was also kind of in that same playing field where like they're choosing one or the other. So it's like it's really tough to feel like there's other options or like how to go about doing it or having good role models on how to deal and communicate. So yeah, people end up getting in like, you know, into these you just kind of end up all just kind of, you know, doing something else too, you know, not thinking for themselves, I think. But
yeah, it's,
you know,
it's very, yeah, that dynamic is really interesting where how people really
I think you're right.
just go
100% of social media and like other forms of the internet, what it's just capable of like insinuating. Like, you know, it's like it's like everyone's just like so caught up with just like trends and all things going on.
With that, like it's like you watch 5 videos of something and it's like, oh, you like this thing? We'll give you more of it. And then that 5 videos turns into 50 videos and like maybe the same from the same like 5 YouTubers, right?
I think another
and it's
thing,
like everyone's in these like social groups.
There's
And
also
now the
just,
social
like,
groups are coming online. Like
yeah, no, that's a whole another story, dude. But no, it's like I think I also like the way that it works, right, is about playing on like human emotion. So the stuff that gets you the most, like, you know, like either pretty scared or like feeling really empowered or like maybe what's it called or something like different things that really elicit a lot of emotion, maybe anger as well, tend to do the best in these cases, and that is like kind of not the best environment to actually being able to make rational, you know, thoughts. Ultimately, like, you shouldn't take anyone's just straight advice on like this is the way to live life. You really need to figure out who you are to see what I think works for you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not going to look like any image you're going to find online. It's going to be much like something much more unique and much more profound to you than something you look online as a good representation. I haven't honestly feeling.
Right.
You can take advice from lots of different parts, but don't think that like one piece of advice is the right answer.
Right,
Like, you
right.
have to be doing a lot of thinking.
There's a lot of unlearning to do as well because
well.
when you're a kid, like you're just gonna be taking advice
Yeah,
from the authority around
right.
you.
And you might look for advice again later in another authority that looks familiar to what you know. So it's like you can also just like kind of fall into the same loops as well. So it's like, you know.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like the cycle. I think, you know, like you're just gonna, you know, like hurt people, you know, and like kind of these things perpetuate, and like just lots of people go through stuff they don't know what to deal with, and then it kind of keeps going. And it's just like it's like I don't feel like a lot of people just sit and try to like really think and ask themselves really hard questions, because that's the scariest things that you have to. You know, those are literally the stuff that you don't want to think about.
It's easier to just avoid all of the darkness.
For real, it's like, or maybe I'm not doing this right, or I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But it's, who knows? Like, you gotta be honest and straightforward with yourself. At some point, like, nobody really knows what the fuck is going on ever, and we're all just trying to figure it out. So like, just like take responsibility, you know, like, and be like, grab what, like, do your best with what you got. I mean, what else can you do? What else can anyone ask you to do? So
yeah,
there's no right way, but
absolutely.
think for yourself. Gotta make it work for you. You know, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So what was the original question?
We were just talking about
Vibes.
what got you into philosophy, and then we started talking about philosophy.
Right. That is true.
Yeah.
Philosophy's cool, and psychology's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Do you have a favorite philosopher?
Probably. I mean, I've read a lot of like different parts of like Stoicism is really cool. Definitely worth looking into. You know, like definitely got some cool ass thoughts there. Definitely some fun stuff to look into. I took an intro to philosophy course, and it was like pretty wide ranged, and like, you know, there's a lot of like good problems out there. Like I think that like, you know, cave analogy is a cool one you can think about. Mythology in general, a lot of the time is like just cool stories and stuff that really do try and like, you know, paint the stories in general. I feel like very often carry some sort of philosophy with them, and trying to like dig out the meaning in things is like kind of the most active form of like philosophy that there is. Like just trying to like dust it down to a more fine detail. Like, oh, what is this actually trying to tell me? You know, like what does it mean? So, you know, like Marcus Aurelius was a cool guy. He did a lot of Stoicism stuff. There's a lot of other Stoics. It's so cool. Stoicism was like such a cool history. It was like literally it was almost like a religion, but it wasn't. It was like a school of thought. It was so big, and like rivaled Catholicism before like basically being wiped out with like this full Roman basically conversion to Catholicism. So like all these Stoics were basically murdered and were exiled. But they're like, this is...
Yeah, you're not allowed to think ahead of your time.
You're not allowed to think way ahead of your time, bro. You're too big brain for all of us. Yeah, get rid of them. No, but like, they were smart motherfuckers, like, out there talking and like lecturing. And they also, like, definitely just some cool stuff you could learn from it. And it's mostly, I guess, I don't know, I can throw some ideas. Like, I think Stoicism is like, God, it's been such a while. But basically, a lot of it was like, you kind of control the reaction. Mm-hmm. You can only so for one, determine what in your life is in your control and what isn't in your control. Because what stuff that is out of your control, literally, you should not give the time of day to, because like, you literally cannot control it. There's no benefit that's gonna come out of putting all your time and energy thinking about stuff that's stressing. Yeah. That's something you literally cannot control at all. You have to just do what's within your control. So you try to determine those things. It's only a small amount, so it makes your life easier, like mentally. And then remember that dealing with life is not going to be easy, no matter what. There's going to be trials and be shit that like makes you freak out and your emotions will flare. And you know, you're not perfect.
Like every choice is a
no
sacrifice.
Matter what. You gotta love. Another thing that like I say is like love your fate. You gotta fucking deal with it. It's gonna be yours, and you're gonna, you know, like. But the truth is, like, the way you don't control what happens to you, but you control the way you react to something happening to you. Mm-hmm. So that's a really like big empowering statement. It's like, maybe you don't have anything in control, but you do have the way you react, and you can react in so many delectable ways.
Right.
If you're dealing with, you know, assholes or something, or you're dealing with just like, you know, life like really beating you down, like you think of some like people that are like so like, you know, had so much grit or something. It's like they really didn't let, you know, they really were stoic about it. They really didn't let whatever happened to them stop them from, you know, doing one thing or another. They, you know, they controlled the reaction that it would have, and that made them different. And like, that is kind of the empowering factor you have that they try to teach you. Like, you control that. Like, you can react. You can train yourself to react really well to things.
I think it also with that reacting and responding thing, there's a lot on internal and external validation, and I think a lot of it comes from like the confidence within the internal validation, like knowing the truth, and kind of like when it's challenged or questioned, like you don't have to like look back at what your truth is and like question it if you already know it, right? I think it's also like, you know, compliments or like put down. Look at me using like kindergarten talk, but like, but yeah, like whether it's like positive or negative stuff, I feel like the Stoics are like really like not influenced either way.
Precisely, yeah. I mean, because, you know, it's just like a, and you might think like, oh, people describe like Stoics as like always stone-faced, but it's not really that. It's like, Stoics are not always stone-faced. Like, dude, we get down. But like, I'm talking about like, just in the fact that like, in the face of hardship,
think it's really about that response to
they
crisis.
control the reaction, and it actually impacts the emotional impact it has on you, and it builds you, and it increases your ability to like try to be as rational as you can in situations that are otherwise some people would completely become distressed in. So it's like this level of
and that can
calm.
spiral too, like
Right.
just having that bad reaction
Right.
of things that
Can
you
spiral.
do regret doing.
Right.
They have all sorts of complications and
So yeah, it's really, you know, like definitely I had so much fun. I think like freshman, I was very early, like in college, where I like was really getting into it. I was like, oh my god, dude, it's such cool, it's such a cool idea. Also, dude, they talk about death a lot. They're not scared of death at all. And I'm like, this is so like taboo. Like, you know what I'm talking about?
Tell me a little bit more about that,
bro.
Like, negative visualization,
bro. It is negative visualization. Okay, so
it's not.
It's not.
Oh, yeah, I
You
thought
can't
it
control
was.
it. You can't control it. So why are you scared of it? That's it. It's out of your control. So why do you allow it to impact your life? Like live, obviously, every moment with the idea that knowledge that you are mortal, aware of that, and live it fully. Like, because you know that you're not reliving anything again. You know, like for one, it changes your life completely.
Mm-hmm.
Having that mentality. Two,
Right.
it takes a fucking weight off your shoulders, because it's like, yeah, dude, part of living is literally everyone's scared to pass. So, you know, like,
We're all gonna die anyways,
yeah, and then literally you talk about people that have found enlightenment. Part of it is like kind of just acceptance of what it means to be alive, which also means to die. So it's just like, you don't really talk about it in Western culture too much. It's like kind of something you don't talk about. Eastern culture is like, bro, we talk about this, you know. So it's like it's just a different mindset, really, just cultural differences. But I loved what Stoics had to say about it, which was that, you know, like if you're trying to actually be stoic and like knowledge of what's in our control, like, you know, death is one of these things that it's just like it comes to us all, but you know, you can still. That's why it's important. The knowledge that we are mortal makes us our lives worth so much, and to like remember that every day, remember that we are mortal. It helps you be like, wow, okay, today is so important. Let me live this day like it means so much, right? When you say like, oh, live your day like it's your last, like that's how you should literally be living your life, because you don't get another one. Which goes back to say, don't like just live someone else's life, man. Like you don't have forever.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to live your life now, or else you're gonna wake up some point in the future and be like, damn, I wasted so many years living someone else, and I don't get those back. You know, and that's really like ultimately part of like living a life with meaning, right? So, you know, like I that's one of the things that if I'm telling you, I'm Stoics, smart bastards. Definitely got me thinking a lot for sure when I was like pretty young in college. But yeah, that was some fun stuff. I love this. Philosophy's cool.
Philosophy's
cool.
Woo!
Woo!
So, what about psychology? Because I feel like you've been leaning into that a little bit more.
Oh yeah,
lately.
I mean, just in general, psychology is so useful because you are gonna deal with so many assholes and you're gonna have to deal with so many terrible people, and knowing psychology of different people and like just how people work, man, it really does help. It provides a little bit of clarity for sure.
And I think, yeah.
Go ahead, yeah.
I think it's really like you can dive into everything with compassion, as opposed to like being angry at someone.
Because it's like the way that you are, or not the way you think
it's
you
like,
should be.
you know, I accept that you're in this place that like,
right.
you have all these stressors,
Right.
and this, you might have this
And it's
dynamic
expressing
that's
in this
making
way.
you. Yeah, I really agree with that.
Right. It definitely helps you like have so much more compassion for other people, because you understand people are different, right? So it's like they're not going to be the way you are always, and they're also not going to be however you think it should be. And these are such, you know, you can't put pressures. You shouldn't put pressures on other people. Part of why, like, you know, don't live someone else's life. Don't be the person that forces other people to live someone's life, like your life or something. It's like, you know, you have to come from a place of like, you know, you have to try to understand that there isn't a way it should be. It's just the way that this person decides to live it, or which however it expresses itself, you know. And I don't know, like sometimes and I think just by like thinking about psychology a lot, It gives you some insight into, just human experience a little bit, and definitely I think like prepares you to deal with shit that you have maybe not dealt with, maybe you have, but you didn't know you dealt with, and so once again it kind of helps in leading, like makes you a better person, because you're kind of like you're better at just being a person, literally. So, some things that I think about psychology a lot are like, you should know, okay, so more taboo stuff. You should know about emotional immaturity, which is like really common nowadays, and it's like people a lot of time don't fully emotionally develop, and also honestly I feel like a lot of the time they at some point decide they are done developing, and this severely impacts everyone's life around them, because it makes it difficult to communicate, it makes it difficult to empathize. It makes it really hard, because if you maybe might be able to see their side, but they can't see yours, and there's not really something you can do to make them just see yours or be able to, because they don't know how. And it's really tough, and it's really hard to deal with as both, I guess, the person who's emotionally mature and the people that are more emotionally mature but like can't, you can't wait forever sometimes. It's like too much. It can really build up on you. And the frustration of it, you're like, it can definitely create a lot of friction within all kinds of relationships, because there's a difference in emotional maturity. So one big thing in psychology, like definitely learn about that stuff. Try and like find out what's it like to have been with someone who's emotionally immature, or what was it like to be emotionally immature. Like, just learn about it. It's great insight, and like a very common thing nowadays. Secondly, narcissism. Talk about social media, and I swear to God, that might be part of it, but like narcissism is a big deal nowadays. It's like so bad, because it leads into like so many other things that basically destroy other people's self-esteem for the benefit of their own. And it's like we leave so many scars on the world, and it's so unfair to a lot of people who have to live their life pretty much under the thumb of someone who is extremely controlling and oppressive, and gaslighting and guilt tripping, and like really playing with someone's emotions. And a lot of the time they'll just sit in it and be like, this is what it is, and it's so sad, because like I have lost friends to it. It's a serious problem, and a lot of the time people that are actually suffering from the fact that they're so self-centered they can't actually develop like serious long-term relationships, is that they can't even go get the help, because they feel like they don't need any help at all, and will never say sorry for anything, so they can't admit their fault at all enough to learn from it. And it's like completely like, you're just like, what the fuck are you supposed to do? Like, for one, the person who's outside of it, the person that's inside of it, it's like it's a complete impasse. And it's like two major things that people like kind of don't know about, don't talk about in psychology, are like definitely those two. I've been thinking about, damn, that's so important for the longest time. So
it's like developmental trauma.
For real, yeah. You might not realize, you could,
right.
maybe you had a boyfriend, or maybe you had a husband, or maybe you had a dad, or maybe you had a mom. It was just, maybe it was narcissist, maybe it was emotionally immature. You might have suffered without realizing, and it definitely learning about it. It makes you, for one, understand and show more compassion in the relationships that you might have had friction with beforehand. Might help change your perspective on things, but it also lets you heal from the trauma that you might have experienced without as much guilt, because it's like, it's fine. Like, you went through stuff. Maybe you don't know what it's like to be a good father. Maybe you don't know what it's like to be a good man, or different things. But ultimately, like, it doesn't mean you can't learn. You just didn't have a very good example originally, or that's kind of like life. It's not always perfect. We have to learn from it, and we have to figure it out. But psychology, man, it can help you jump a couple steps, because usually you would get it from talking to someone, right? Like, oh my God, I went through all this shit. They'd be like, here's some advice, maybe it would help. And you get over these feelings, maybe you should talk to this one this way. That's kind of psychology, but by learning about it beforehand, like early, and delving into it, using Google, whatever, you can learn a lot. Just it'll help you out even before.
Yeah, there's like the specific situation, and there's like patterns of behavior.
Right.
That actually have scientific.
Exactly. They really have a lot of documentation.
Yeah.
So definitely, those are. I've seen a lot of those. I've seen a lot of cases that are like that, for sure.
Yeah.
A lot of patterns in this, and those are pretty common nowadays. So.
Yeah, with narcissistic personality disorder, I mean, actually what it is a lot is, when I was saying developmental trauma, I was actually talking about the people with the disorder.
Right.
So like...
Oh, that too.
Yeah.
Yes. It is, literally.
I let you talk because,
I know people...
like...
Yeah, I literally had these conversations with people who I've felt that might be very narcissistic, and it usually comes from the fact they're very hurt, like they were very insecure deep down, and it is neglect. Yeah. It's about basically you felt alone to such a standard you had to develop like another persona to help deal with basically the trauma you were facing.
Right, and it's like a detachment that
it is.
Actually, like, people with NPD often like are detached from, like, at 12 they've literally invented another persona,
right,
and that one lives with them forever, and they're kind of like in the adult world doing adult things with 12-year-old ego responses,
right?
Because at that point in your life, it's about defining what ego is, and kind of controlling that. And when that's like that period, the critical like moments are not met, psychological needs are not met, like that's when that period that is supposed to be like a 1-year thing where like, supreme importance, right? That 12, 13-year period goes on and on and on and on until, I mean, occasionally someone with NPD will get into therapy and actually be self-aware, but that's usually if someone drags them in.
It's really tough too, because they also have a propensity to lash out as well.
Oh yeah.
So I was there. I was talking to this person, and they lashed out. I like lost my best friend forever. So it was like, it's not really like a very easy thing to deal with at all. And a lot of the time, it's like it's just tough because they can't accept. They can't accept help. Like it's like literally like it goes against their ego so deeply that it's like, even though you feel for them, you understand that how difficult it is for them. Like you really get the shit that you went through that's real. You can't actually fix them. You can't be the one. They have to fix themselves. It's the only way out for them. And it's like, you...
And there's like this line between enabling and...
supporting?
And like supporting, yeah, exactly. Like how are you supposed to... Yeah.
To discern between the two?
Discern, yeah.
Because like, a lot of the time it's like... You'll for example, with narcissism, a lot of you'll like kind of just feed into it rather than immediately kind of confront the issue. It's like, oh, why is this person so like kind of like, oh, it's a little too much, a little bit, couple things. Like there are some pointers. Once again, I don't really want to go too into detail, but you can definitely get into it, and it's a lot of having to do is like you talk about yourself, like to an extreme degree. You always want to include yourself to be like some part of expert of the conversation. There's a certain level where it's like you want people to act the way you expect them to act, and you kind of like lead them into comments and baits, and eventually they also love bomb the show you, and it's like those are the best parts, right? And it's like ultimately
charismatic.
It's like you might go like, yeah, awesome, oh, it's so fun, this is great, because you're enjoying the love and you're enjoying the good times and stuff. And you might be just like enabling and not really thinking about it too much, but like some things like this is like, okay, well, maybe like it's a little weird that sometimes they do that. They kind of don't ever apologize if they ever make a mistake. And I'm like, hey, in passing, I'm like, hey, so this is one thing, come on, man, it's not a big deal. And they're like, fuck
everything,
and they walk away. Yeah, so you're like, oh, why is that?
There's the love bombing that comes back, and
then it kind of flip flops. Like immediately, say something mean, it's like, who the fuck are you? And then it goes back to like, oh, some friends. You're like, if it's throwing me for a loop so many times, might be something there. And I just like, maybe you should notice, but like you really have to do. Obviously, it's not something you can be like, I'm diagnosing people. Like, it's not something you're capable of doing.
Well, there's also like the personality disorder, and there's just narcissistic behavior.
Right, exactly. There's patterns of behavior, different kinds, and ultimately, like you just want to know. Part of psychology is not necessarily like the actual diagnoses of different mental disorders, but it's literally just noticing patterns of behavior in people, noticing how to communicate, what's okay, what isn't, to ask of different people, and like trying to understand and empathize with other people's emotions, knowing that you should apologize for things You know, like there's different things like that where it's like, you know, that's an important quality. It's like you just knowing that there are parts these are important, like will help you find, I think, relationships that are also going to be more like they're going to be more healthy for everyone involved. And yeah, I mean, ultimately, like you can hope that, like, you know, different people, if they need it, they can get some help. But it's hard, you know. But it's not necessarily your job to be fixing people. You know, it's you can fix yourself. It's like it's a big enough job as is, I think, for most people.
Yeah.
Try your best with that, and then you can like kind of be there with other people, but they have to also want to like fix themselves as well. They gotta be on the same page as that.
I think it's actually easier to inspire people to change by doing that self-work than it is to like try to force someone to change.
Right.
Like
setting an example is much more powerful.
I have this belief like that it's like if you want to change someone, change yourself.
Right.
And you know, be that change.
100%. I mean.
Yeah, and like, you know, they might change, they might not, but I think like by letting go of that expectation of the change, like that's actually where someone is gonna like be more open or like receptive to actually improving themselves. Or like, yeah, I feel like it's like with this kind of push and pull, like if someone's like, do this, it gets to a point where it's like, no, like stop, right? But it's like if someone is improving themselves, they're eating better, they're going to the gym, and like, you know, it's showing in results, they're showing up better, right? The other person might be like, oh, like maybe I should follow, maybe they're doing something right, you know?
Ultimately, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the time, yeah, it's the most powerful thing you can do to actually get significant change is to be the best version of yourself as you can be, and just be like, try to be a good role model to people. Try and like have the conversations that don't get haved a lot of the time. Be there for someone who needs it. You know, like be the change that you want to see is literally the best way to create change. It's a great quote, but it's so true. It really is the best way to affect change in an environment. It's just like try and be there and be the best, like, you know, be a good role model, and people will respect that. You know, like, but like it's not something you can, like, you can't go around telling people what to do and not do it. So the first and always step is always remember to do it first before saying anything. You know, because like people will respect that when you actually do align with what you're talking about, what you want to be. So yeah, 100%. It's like it's all about trying to be like the best. You know, try to be a good role model for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
That's so true. So true, bro.
Is it jamming time? We could squeeze a little jam into this segment. Just a little day in the life of you and me.
You and me. Alright, so if I need to sing chords, ready?
What's that?
I was in a song, bro. I think I might be wrong with that. That doesn't sound good. That's pretty rare.
It is. Excuse my guitar playing.
That was great. That was great. That's what jams are all about. That was fucking. Those are nice chords, right? Pretty.
Yeah, pretty.
It was a song I was learning today. It was so good. I just can't remember the lyrics. No.
Another time.
I was like, I'm sitting up, I'm like, fucking lyrics. Where do they go? All right, fair enough.
Bro, so like, what about physics?
Oh right, yeah, no. So, did I mention? I did talk about it a little bit, right?
Like
because yeah, I think it was like vortex
the
stuff,
three
right?
P's.
Yeah, the 3 P's. No, I always talk about it. Dude, I used to have so much fun just like drawing P's. And I was like, what kind of cool symbol? But it always looks like, damn, it's like, this is a problem. But but no, yeah, the 3 P's are like just, it was like, I don't know, physics, psychology, philosophy, right? Great ones, core subjects everyone should learn a little bit about. But I just think, yeah, physics was cool as heck, and I was just good at it because I was like good at math, so I was good at math. That's why I did computer science. I was good at math. I was like, they're like, can you handle a math minor? I'm like, dude, yeah, that's all I fucking do is math. But physics was the concepts of physics more than the math of physics was what really was cool. Everyone's like, I was talking with you before. Everyone like does math, and they're like, fucking hate math. Doesn't make sense. It's just numbers. You're like, yeah, it's numbers until you like plug it into a physics formula, and then it tells you like how far the ball will fire out of the can, and you're like, wait a second, like that's kind of like crazy. Like that works that way. But basically, like, yeah, it's like you can really calculate
stuff.
Numbers like can represent such big actual simulations. Like part of what I love about computer science was like you can like simulate physics stuff by literally plugging in physics formulas into like a computer, and it'll like and make it attached to like a ball that would be falling, and like it'll really look and feel like real life gravity or real life physics of something being thrown. And it's so cool to think about that you can literally use some of these physics people were like, this is the formula, like as stuff you can simulate once again in like computer stuff, which is like I was like, that's so cool. That's really the way that like real world outside of you works, like in terms of like how much force you can put on something, how friction works, and like it really does, just like knowing about different physics concepts, air resistance, all these things, like it gives you so much more insight in like what is possible and what isn't. And maybe like kind of ruins a couple movies for you, like here and there. And all these movies are fake. But like anyway, like but like it doesn't matter. It's still gonna give you so much insight about like what you can do. How can I make that jump? Can I like things like that? That's like real world, like hands on. You're out there cutting a knife. Why is my knife line working? Oh, sharpness, and how does sharpness work, and how do you raise sharpness? So like how real stuff. How is wood made of, and like like just like literally like really getting into physics isn't just physics, by the way, like throwing the ball and stuff. It's like I really mean it in the sense of like the sciences, or like the hard sciences, where it's like this is the way that shit works. Like we've seen it, we can like look at it, just know exactly how it works. Like so even it probably includes like chemistry and biology as well. And like some of these subjects, like this is good shit to know about because it's the real world outside of you. So it's like if you're like super curious about things outside of you, it's like that's the sciences, So it's definitely something to learn a little bit about. You don't have to get super in detail, but like definitely like getting some insight in like how genetics or how like viruses work, and like learning a little bit here and there and about that, or learning why different chemical reactions, having fun with like why are acids so cool, like things like that. Get curious about them and like learn a little bit about them. Like it gives you so much insight. Like you just learn about something that you might think you're like, I'm not good at, but like anyone can learn about it. Anyone can like be interested and be like, hey, how does this work? And like go on Google. Like Google will fucking tell you. There's thousands of people that'll be like dying to tell you for free nowadays. So
yeah,
it's like sometimes it's like you get interested in something. Hey man, pose that question out there, and someone's probably like, you're an idiot, and then like you're like, okay, but at least you learned something, right? People need something. Like yeah, I think yeah, it's just physics is pretty wild out there, and then there's still so much mystery in it too. I was talking about before, it was like we don't have like a really good way to connect everything we know about physics. Like we have physics, but they're like disconnected theories, and it's like we still don't, that gives you such more insight into like, wow, we don't know everything. And don't people walk around here like, yeah, bro, society has figured everything out. And they're like, no, dude, we don't know a lot of shit. A lot of shit's like outliers and unexplainables, and we're just like, and stuff that just doesn't connect, it doesn't
Especially
equal the
like
same thing.
quantum realm,
For sure. Yeah, that's another crazy thing, but it's more just like, yeah, at the fundamental level, quantum is like, at the fundamental level of reality, we don't know what the fuck's going on, essentially. Which is like crazy,
you can make
because
pieces of the big
all of
stuff.
science is like trying to be like, we know what's going on. And it just guys makes it smaller, and then smaller parts make smaller parts, and then you're like, it's a cloud of gas, and it's a cloud of nothing. You're like, what the fuck do you mean? You're like, what do you mean there's nothing left? Nothing smaller? You're like, so like that stuff is just like really, you know, it's really interesting. It's
And that's where it makes
But,
it
yeah,
spirituality.
exactly, and
Blends,
that's where you go back into realizing maybe we don't know everything with science. Science isn't like a religion that we can follow.
Mhm.
You know, we have to just it's a set of, you know, idealism stuff that helps you learn, but helps you try and make rational
some order,
things.
yeah.
Some order, but it's not like this is the truth. You know, we don't know what it is. You still, once again, can't do any hiding from it. You gotta decide what your truth is. You gotta do the hard work. No, damn it. I want someone else to tell me what's the truth, and I'll just believe it. No, you gotta do it yourself. Be thinking, my friend. So, but yeah, no, like, so that's something cool about like the end of physics. It's like we don't know. We don't know a lot of things. So, you know, familiarizing yourself with all these aspects really gives you some helpful, you know, motion. Like you learn some interesting stuff. Just like, you know, you develop. You know, like, you have to like really more things to do outside of it, but big ideas definitely helps you kind of like step forward in it for sure.
Definitely. Alessandro, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Oh god, that's God. No, God, that question. I have no freaking idea. I don't know. Probably sipping margaritas on a beach in Hawaii, living on millions of dollars.
Absolutely.
I don't know, in a mansion. I don't even want a mansion. Literally, it could be a dirt shack. But I'm living in Hawaii on a beach, sipping margaritas, 100%. I don't care how I get there, it's happening. But yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. In 5 years, hopefully a better person. You know, like hopefully develop a few more virtues. Try like hopefully get a little bit more like financially independent. Oh yeah, baby. And
post grad.
oh yeah, woo! And you know, like I hope I'm happy, 100%. That's, you know, and which I don't even have to say it. I'm definitely still gonna be on the same wave, same wave of like thinking about random shit and just like, you know,
all the way.
I just want more time to think about my random shit. That's you know what I'm saying. Sipping margaritas on Hawaii, thinking about random shit. That's the move. 5 years from now, I mean, if I'm not there, I'm gonna be like, bro, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, my day job. You know, like, I don't know. I work 3 months out of the year. That's fine. Still on the beach. It's not good enough. No, yeah. So, you know, I'm taking one day at a time. You know, trying to come up with some cool ideas. Trying to still having good conversations with people. Doing a day, trying to enjoy, like, you know, enjoying every day as best as I can, and like, you know, trying to live it here. Be a little present. You know, meet people, talk to people. Try to keep learning. Try to keep unpacking. You know, like there's always boxes. There's still boxes. There's never an ending supply of boxes in your room from like the last move out.
Yeah, boxes.
So you always gotta be unpacking your boxes. Just keep moving places. You know. Yeah, mentally. You know.
You got boxes right there.
I do have boxes. There's boxes actually everywhere. Everywhere behind the camera. There's boxes. But you know they don't see that. They don't have to see that.
They don't have to.
You can only see the vision.
Vision.
The vision with the stone in his head. Like I've really ripped it out of him. But of what I want to see.
So that's the future. What would you recommend to your younger self?
Fuck.
Or you like go back in time?
Probably don't date that one girl. But you know, like ultimately, you know, I don't know. I don't think I would want to change anything. It's like another big factor is like I don't feel like I have that many. You know, like I'm just like I'm very content with kind of like the way that you know I was just figuring it out as I was going, and you know it's done me good so far. I think going by like kind of like you know just stick to your gut, like try to become a better person every day, whatever that means to you. Definitely is I don't know, I wouldn't change that. I don't know if I would give myself any other advice. Try to skew and be like maybe invest in Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
Probably if I told him, so I would just give him like I would go back.
We invested in Bitcoin.
Let's be honest. There's a whole movie about this, right? We went back to the future, right? We went back to the past, and they like gave the almanac of like all the sports victories, and like that's probably what I would do. I would just like drop some random like. By the way, here's like the winning lottery numbers and like Bitcoin, and then just like zip out of time. He's like, "What the fuck was that?" But he invested Bitcoin. And, now I'm just like, now all these boxes are just filled with gold. And it's just, I would be sick. Like, that's probably, that's some good advice to give yourself. Anything else? I'm like, honestly, bro, you're doing a pretty good job. Stick to it.
Just take out the loan.
Just take out the loan. Just invest it all in Bitcoin. Take out your entire life's worth. As much as you can get.
Damn. Going to debt. Doesn't matter.
So much. Billions.
Yeah,
for real. That would be nice. And then I would be sipping margaritas in Hawaii way earlier. Like, come on. Fuck, man. I need my future self to tell me what the fucking winning numbers are gonna be the next fucking 5 years. Come on. Sheesh. Look out for me, my dude. Why don't I just do that shit? Come on.
Damn.
That would be big brain.
You got a favorite song?
You know, someone asked me that a couple of days ago, and I literally still have no idea. I listen to so much music, but I can tell you. So I recently loved this song by some Instagrammer I watch. Really great guitarist. Just like he puts a lot of like really sick like loops out there, and he's just like screw guys like you know make a remix of it. Just he'll put a loop like just like down in the stack, be like, hey, well this is some. Play along to it and like let me like put the ideas. And she found this singer who's crazy, really good, and made this super cool like Spanish like sound. Oh, sick. It's called Supiel. I think Her Skin. Exactly. Her Skin, so good. So listen to that one.
Her Skin, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and listening to Paramore, Boo. You know, like I go through different stages. I kind of like them all, and then like go like shuffle down. I'm like, this is what I was listening to in 2018. It was so interesting. So it's like a whole order, but at this point when I'm playing music, especially, I don't really have a favorite song to play, but I love like just finding different chord patterns. Just like even like really small ones. So like I was thinking it earlier. Like this one was like. Three strings. It's just like, oh, it sounds so pretty. And then I want to like layer things on there, and that just invites me to be like more inspired to do more and more.
When are you getting a loop station?
I have a loop station. It's over there. I'm just too lazy.
Oh.
But I do. Julie actually dropped it up, so I have a loop station now. Sick.
Oh.
But I'm not good at it yet, so it's like
there's a learning curve.
It's a learning curve for sure, but
I'm not good at it.
What I've been doing now, I've been recording and like kind of like putting them on loops that way, so I've been like layering it.
Nice.
Yeah. So just like I don't know, but like for example, the program we found today, that was just another song. I was like, this is so pretty. So.
Okay. Pretty much last question.
Yes.
Coffee or tea?
I'm like a fucking cereal coffee drinker. Don't drink me. I drink so much coffee. It's not okay. Don't drink coffee like later than like 4:30, kids. Like it's doomed. And even that's pushing it. Don't do that. You're never sleeping. It's so bad. But like definitely a coffee person. When I was sick as fuck, I try to switch to tea because I know it's like coffee will murder me if it's just like straight up milk and I'm like sneezing or something. But usually definitely a coffee guy.
Alright, last question. Where can people find you online?
Oh my god.
Where does this man exist on the interwebs?
I'm trying to get away. I'm trying to run away.
Oh.
They'll never find me again.
So you can't find him?
Yeah, it's exclusive. It's really rare. I'm
Damn.
like a rare Pokemon on the internet. To find me there is gonna be a tough. You have to catch me at like low. It's like
He's the shiny Lapras.
I have. What do I have? Probably on Instagram. Haven't posted on it for like years though, but it's there, and it does say free conversation. Which is kind of hilarious in the description. I wrote that like 3 years ago.
What's the handle on your Instagram?
Oh yeah, it is. I think it's Alessandro. Period. 305.
Let me confirm that just to be sure.
I'm pretty dang sure.
Okay.
It's kind of a sick name, isn't it?
It is. I'll edit this part out if well, anyways, actually. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me.
It's been real.
It has been such a pleasure to be on your show.
Create your adventure!
Take care.